Hello, everyone. Welcome to 2023. And say goodbye to 2022 with a lot of learning, perhaps, and a lot of empowering lessons that we could have from 2022 now and moving on forward. Um, like to say that my relationship with Source, we may call it God, you may call it Allah, is a priority and my foundation, and everything that I want to do, I want to think should and must emanate from that relationship. And since I see you as an expression of the source, so my relationship with you, even through this podcast from a distance or in person, is also important to me. And I'd like to expect that today, as the first episode that we're going to have for 2023, as an empowering one. And, it's a serendipity that we have Dr. Frederick David Graves as our first speaker or first guest in 2023. So, Dr. Graves, welcome. And yes, please lead us to an empowering first episode for 2023 so that we just don't end up having that intellectual masturbation with no real action. Okay, we don't want to leave our audience hanging all the time. We know some problems, and others, although, are still living under the rock. But for those who are above the rock, it's our responsibility and obligation to jumpstart this podcast. So, welcome.
Thank you. What fun.
And the little bit that I know about Dr. Graves is he's been doing his work for over 4 decades already, I believe, or 3 decades. I don't want him to make it so old, but in age wisdom comes as well. So he was 39 years old when he started law school, and before that, as he writes in his website, that he is a carpenter, a fisherman, a boat builder, and he did many odd jobs. And in those many odd jobs, he also many legal cases. So that gave him and his aha moment that, hey, I can't afford to hire a lawyer, but maybe I could be my own lawyer. So that's what he was thinking, and he wrote that. So then he passed the boards in 1996 and has been having some many win cases and helping others through his online courses in the howtowinIncourt.com. And I know some friends of mine who have used it. I didn't have to use it, knock on wood, not yet. No, okay. And of course, Roy with us, he's been referring to this. And so it's just, anyway, let me give it to him and see, then drive us to this empowering first episode. You can start wherever you want to start, Dr. Graves.
Well, why don't I start where the one who is, in whom we move and live and have our being, speaks to me from time to time. And let's start with here's a thought. Everything we're doing so far is words. We could show our faces, we could wave our hands, but we have words, and words are power, and words are powerful when they're used correctly. And it's come to me recently that if we spend a little bit more time helping each other and teaching our children the meaning of words, that maybe that would be a good beginning, and that the process of putting those words together might be less important, really, in the long run, than understanding what the words are, what they say, what they stand for. And as I see it, many of those words are what we might call spirits. Words like justice, words like prudence and temperance and fortitude and faith and hope and joy. And we really haven't spent a lot of time doing that. I mean, in education here, I don't know what it's like in Bavaria or Poland, but I know that here we're spending an awful lot of tax dollars to babysit for our children. And we have this opportunity to beef up the education system, to deepen the impact by teaching more things that are fundamental that are being ignored, I think, by the modern world, so-called. I was writing something yesterday evening, and I realized that we talk about this world being modern, but if you think about it, the people in 1776, they probably thought their world was modern too. If you look back almost any time in history, people, they were at the cutting edge of now, as we are today. But to imagine, as I think too many do, that we've suddenly arrived at some plateau that we can't, that we're not going to fall back, that World War II and World War I and all the horrors of the past are in the past and that we're safe beyond them, when it seems to me that we're sliding down a slippery slope that is being precipitated by our ignorance. People don't like to be told they're ignorant. It's one thing to say to somebody you're stupid, but really we're all ignorant to some extent. We don't know what we don't know. That brings up a wonderful word called nescience, Nescience. We don't know what we don't know. And so by helping each other to understand these fundamental things, it seems to me that down the road we can achieve the goal that I see of teaching our children from first grade through 12th grade what justice is, what prudence is, what an interrogatory is. It's not rocket science. And perhaps influencing the people in high places to begin to be obedient to what the law is, to what the truth is, to what honor is, to what's best for the people, and to start promoting peace and standing against the errors of this world. And I could go on and on, but why don't we hear from Roy and Helmut? They're here too.
Well, like I've actually been selling your course and I see the advantage to it. Plus I'm on your kind of emailing list. So I see a lot of the things that you write about, it's fascinating. One of the things that I've kind of delved into, and we've had a few people on our show, was on kind of UCC common law. And I firmly believe there's a lot of people making mistakes on that. And I know you touch on it. And I feel I personally have had over 100 court cases. So I kind of, unfortunately, know a bit more in the courtroom. Like I noticed some people going, the yellow around the flag and everything, and they're getting themselves in trouble. So you might touch on that, because I think that is something that I actually agree with you on.
Well, let's go at it from this point. There's a rule book, and that's how all this got started. I picked up the rule book to look up the number for a rule that had to do with requests for admissions. In Florida, it was 1.380, I believe. But I had forgotten that number, and I wanted to write that into the paper that I was typing out for my client. So here comes the plaintiff by and through his undersigned attorney and moves this honorable court pursuant to rule number, and I had to look at my book. Well, good news. I think it was a discovery. Here's a book that's, how can I do this? My hand right. The book was probably, it was a good that thick. It really was. Not kidding you. It was Rules of Court, put out by West Publishing Company. And the part that I used was about 30 pages out of 600. That's all I had used for the past 10 years. And they were the rules of procedure and the rules of evidence. That was it. And the people don't know this. And to me, it's fascinating. There are lawyers that don't have a clue what they're doing. And we go to court. Well, people do. They go to court and they think, well, somebody did me wrong. It isn't right. The Constitution says they shouldn't do it. Therefore, I should win. And they're like people trying to play baseball with a tennis racket. You can't do it. The umpire will not allow it. But the rules are easy to learn. You have to know the definition of some words, but there aren't any difficult words. I keep telling people an interrogatory, oh my gosh, how do you spell interrogatory? Well, you look it up. You spell it. But all it is it's a question that you ask somebody in writing in a form that's in the course, and they have to answer that in writing under oath. It's a very wonderful thing. I've used it over and over again to make bad people, run and hide and loosen their purse strings and pay my client for the damage that they did by asking them a question that they have to answer under oath. The question's in writing. We call it an interrogatory. It comes from the same word as interrogation. It's a question. That's all it is, a written question you have to answer under oath. Where's the rocket science? So the fringe on the flag thing, I'll go here with you. Okay. Thank you for the question, Roy. I believe some of this is coming from a foreign entity. It makes no sense whatsoever. The arguments that the court is somehow an admiralty court and that they can't do this, they can't do that, and the judges are all crooked, and it's all a conspiracy. They're going to try to kill us, and we're all going to end up in some kind of concentration camp in Minneapolis. It makes no sense. But people are believing it, and we can fix that together. I don't have to be part of this. You people can do this. I want you people to do this. Fix it. Lift the lamp for these people who are in darkness. They just simply don't understand. And so the more they are in darkness, the more they are criticizing and tearing down the foundation of that thing which is their only hope, which is a system of government under law that is controllable by the people themselves. I have the belief that that's what the people want. If they'll stop long enough to stop complaining about things long enough to begin to realize that, yes, that is what we want. We want good government. We want honest judges. We want to be able to call witnesses and get answers to our questions and make people produce documents and so forth. But when do we begin to encourage those people to realize all this has to be done decently and in order? Like the Apostle Paul said long ago, let everything be done decently and in order. Order is the key to this. You can't have peace without order. I mean, think about it, please. I mean, whoever's listening to us and chime in, Helmut. But the thing is that how can you have peace if there's chaos? How can you have peace if every individual gets to do his own thing, which I favor being able to do your own thing, but when you want to do your own thing in such a way that it goes against the grain and of other people and what other people want, that's why we have speed limits. If speed limit's 55 miles an hour and you're driving 90, you're not being a patriot. You're not being a good person. You're not part of the answer that we all seek. And the answer that we all seek, I believe, is peace with at least a reasonable degree of prosperity. Give us peace and a reasonable degree of prosperity. So we need a government that will do that for us. But the government has to operate according to order because it has to impose order. And we have too many people, they want to get out of the order. They want to escape from the rules. And they don't seem to understand the rules are what's protecting them in the first place. So if any of this is making sense,
no,
to
be honest with you, because I totally agree with you with the courts, because I've seen people actually getting arrested because they go, I don't agree with, because you're an admiral law and all that. And also with the rules, like there's some people using the kind of common law for speeding, and they basically say, I don't, who's the injured party and stuff like that, which in turn, everybody then is trying to do their own thing. And so I see why we need the courts and the systems with what you've got, because I've got over 50% of my listeners that are American. But are you aware, does it apply to kind of the UK and Ireland and kind of civil, like in Poland, they go under civil law?
Well, we're getting a lot of feedback from people in Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Wales, Scotland. There are people in all those countries, India. They're all over. And because the bottom line is that the rules may be slightly different, but the process is always the same. We're trying to get at the truth on the record. So we can get the truth on the record, and now we move the judge to do what he's being paid to do. We've got the truth on the record. We're using proper procedure. We're using the rules of evidence to filter out the bad stuff and allow the good stuff to get on the record. There you go again. It's on the record, on the record. That's the goal. Get the truth on the record. So the evidence rules, the whole thing is so simple. The evidence rules filter out the bad stuff so you don't get nonsense or corrupt confusion into the record. They allow the good things. In fact, they usher in the good things. They really do. They say, come on in, bring me some more truth, get it on the record. The rules promote that. They're your friend. They're not your enemy. And then to make proper objections according to the rules, to try to get the judge to understand, well, excuse me, Your Honor, but this particular person shouldn't be allowed to testify about that particular matter because they have no idea what they're talking about except what somebody told them. And there are the rules that give us this. They're not hard to learn. But again, do we want to live under rules? And this seems to me to be a higher calling for me, that I want to encourage and infuse into your minds, each of you, to promote this idea of questioning these people who are off in the weeds. Do you really want to live without rules? Do you have any idea what life would be like if somehow the rules just disappeared on the 4th of January, 2023? There's no rules, no one to enforce the rules because there are no rules to enforce. I don't want to live like that. I don't want my loved ones to have to live in that world. But that's where we're headed if we don't wake up and appreciate words like prudence, temperance, fortitude, justice, honor, order, and desire order. But to desire an order that is tempered by love and tempered by wisdom and tempered by the ability to stop and think, well, what's going to be the consequence if we do this? Or what's going to be the consequence if we don't do that? And it's so simple. To me, it's just so simple. And I just want to believe that more and more and more of us are going to pick up on this, be enlightened by this, and make up our minds that this is the most important thing we can do with our lives, is to teach the children and work together to promote peace and a reasonable amount of prosperity for each and every living soul on this planet, not just here, but in Africa and South America, where the pygmies live. I mean, every human being should be treated with honor, and they should enjoy peace, and they should be protected. And we have to do that ourselves. And we do that by erecting to ourselves systems of government. And I think we have a pretty good one here in the United States. Pretty sure they've got a good one there in Poland. They probably have a pretty decent one there in Bavaria. They probably have corruption. They probably have terrible people doing terrible things. But at the core of it, this wisdom has come from centuries ago. And now we're in this age where we have devices. I have a cell phone here, and we can communicate. and we can make this world a safer place for future generations if we will submit to the order that is established under rules, under law. I'll just say this and then I'll let you guys talk, if you will. I remember I just recently found a poem by Rudyard Kipling. It's called the issue. It's like the eternal issue, something like that. The old issue. That's the name of the old issue. Rudyard Kipling. And one of the lines in that poem, he says that the goal is to live by no man's leave. Leave to live by no man's leave under law. Leave to live by no man's leave under law. In other words, to have permission to exist and experience life and participate in the wonderful things that life offers us, to be able to express ourselves and to work with our hands and with our minds and with our voices and with whatever we have, to put food on the table and to do all of those wonderful things within the law. Liberty is a different word from freedom. They're not the same word. And again, it comes back to what we started with this here in 2023. Let us learn and teach our children the meaning of these words. We don't want to be free from law. We don't want to be free from order. We don't want to be free from the rules. We want to use the rules. We want to use the law. We want to use the order to make us safe. Does that make sense to you?
No, absolutely. And with the course that you're doing as well, because a lot of the time when people are called to court, a lot can be done prior to actually going court, that you can actually get it thrown out based on the knowledge that you learn. So you might kind of touch on that.
Well, yeah, you approach certain members of the bar, no matter where they are in any country. I mean, Charles Dickens wrote about this. One of his books is called Bleak House. There's a case in there called the Jarndyce case. It's actually cited in some appellate court opinions where justices, went wax rhapsodic and mentioned the Jarndyce case, which may not mean anything to anybody that doesn't read Charles Dickens, and the Bleak House novel, where a young fella, he wanted to marry his sweetheart, and he told her to wait. You wait, and I'll be able to give you a home, I'll be able to give you everything, carriages, everything. Because the estate of my family is going to be settled. And they waited, and they waited, and the lawyers raped and pillaged and took and delayed. All of these things took place because, and here we go, there has never yet been public justice education in the world. But now I have to say this to you people. This has got to be up to you. It can't be up to me anymore. This has to be something you make up your minds that you're going to understand, you're going to believe in, you're going to commit to, and that you're going to teach yourselves. Sure, I offered a course. It's an okay course. It could be way better than it is. But when you and everyone on this planet begins to realize that we have an obligation to each other to lift this lamp of knowledge, all kinds of knowledge, and where we see error and when we see falsehood and we see darkness, our enemy, the ignorance that invades the minds of men that we foolishly claim that they're evil. It's not the men aren't evil. It's that they believe things that aren't true. And we can fix that. We, the people of this planet, can fix the errors of these people who believe things that are not true and act on them and invade other countries and kill people, innocent people. For what? It has to stop. I can't stop it, but several million of us can certainly get the ball rolling. But it's got to be way more than just winning in court. It's got to be, first of all, understanding what are we trying to achieve, what are the tools and weapons to achieve it. And from my point of view, the tools and weapons to achieve it are these things called words that we don't understand, that we must understand. And we must stand under this concept of living in a place where there is law and order, so there can be peace. Because without law, without law there can be no order, and without order there can be no peace. And we have far too many people that just want to break the law and be angry, and instead of learning how to use words. And we can teach them how to do that. So it goes way beyond winning in court. It's about getting along with your neighbor, getting along with your spouse or favorite person, whatever you have, because the words are there for us. We can choose what words we want to basically worship. It wouldn't hurt us to worship the word justice. It's our hope. Without it, there's no future for this planet.
And for the people that are trying to make change, say, like, we're conscious of, say, the World Health Organization, some corruption that's going on there. Is it better to go for the individual to get the results, or to the company or the whole organization? Because I personally think it's the individual that you go for to make change at the top, to try to get the right person in.
Well, when we ask the question, where is the darkness? Every problem that we have as human beings arises when we believe falsehood. Where is it? Where's the darkness? Where's the error? Where's that little germ of nonsense that somebody is permitting to rattle around inside their head, where they're getting away from the idea that they're not responsible, that they don't have a part in all of this. So find that, and then if it happens to reside within an individual, then we'll straighten out that individual using words. If it resides within an organization or a corporation or a government, then let's use words and straighten that individual or corporation or government, right? Get them right back on the path again. But I have to keep saying this. As long as you don't turn me off, I'll keep saying it. The answer to all of this is not just about winning in court. It's about teaching our children. Teaching our children, what are these things that we could be learning from people that have been dead for a very long time, but went to the trouble of writing those things down. I remember at the beginning of one of Dickens' books, Hard Times, there was an introduction to one. It's not in not every book you find with hard times, you won't find it, but in some you may find the introduction. And he begins speaking to the government and to the people. And he said, you have this, you have that, and you're not doing anything about it. And he said, you must really be very careful because, and here's the quote, reality may take a wolfish turn and make an end of you. Well, that's happened before. It's happened in nations over the past. Reality's just made an end of nations because they wouldn't deal with these things that we need to deal with. Some of which we can deal with in the courts, some of which we can deal by painting a painting or singing a song or dancing a dance or screenwriting a movie. There's all kinds of opportunities for us to use these ideas, these principles, these goals, these noble spirits that want to guide us to a safer future. And today's generation, from my point of view as a very, very old man, today's generation is oblivious. They have no idea. And I can't reach all of those people, but you can. You can reach people who will reach people who will reach people who will reach people, not about my course, but about these truths that are enduring truths that have been forgotten, that aren't even talked about. And I mean, just imagine what's going on in Washington, where people just seem to think, well, we can just throw all that to the side. That's all old. This is today. We've got to deal with this. We've got to deal with the pipeline. We've got to deal with this racial injustice. We've got to deal with all these. Yeah, we have to deal with them. But how are we going to deal with them if we don't submit ourselves to these fundamental principles, they're not going to change. God is not going to change reality because some political party decides that they're going to try to stand up about it. That's not what life is about. We can right now, 2023, we can all begin to work to make this world a safer place for future generations by making up our minds that those of us who know these things to be true will teach our children, and just as importantly, stand against the falsehoods when we see them. Stand up against them. Put away this nonsense about being politically correct and being afraid to stand up against something. If it needs to be stood up against, stand up against it. If somebody doesn't like you because you have an opinion, well, that's not somebody you want to be friends with anyway. Am I still coming through loud and clear? I hope.
Excellent. Listen, thank you very much, Frederick. I'll pass you over to Hartmut.
Hello, Dr. Graves. My pleasure
Hello.
talking to you. I see it more from, let's say, from a psychological point of view and from the strategical point of view. On the one hand, we are, as individuals, we can know our rights and maybe we can teach our people around us. The problem, let's say, the problem in our generation is that many have a concentration capacity of 3 tweets. And we are talking here about something which is an intellectual argumentation. And on the one hand, with common sense and common law, we can reach a lot. In the moment in Germany, the government changed a lot. For example, in Germany, every employer who has more than 50 employees has to mention a trust person for information providers. This means, for example, if someone is not does not accept the social standards which will be established at the moment at the Green Party concerning medical health, concerning climate change, concerning etc., people from the neighborhood, your colleague, can go to the trust person or to the Ministry of Justice and can anonymously can tell here is someone who is not on our track. Yeah, this is some. And in Germany, we have, for example, we are discussing the Ministry for Inner Affairs. They want to have a reversal of the burden of proof.
No.
This is something what they want to have here in Germany. And for example, if you are an employee of the state and the state says you are guilty for something, then you have to, as an employee of the state, you have to prove that you are not guilty. Otherwise, you are going to lose your pension and your job.
You know, all this was foreseen by wiser men that are long since dead, and they tried to establish a mechanism that would prevent these things from happening. But we've allowed this ignorant machine to infest us. I don't think it's too late, but I think we win in the long run. Not this year, maybe not next year, but if we start now and make up our minds that we are going to preserve these things, even if powerful people kill us, drag us out in the street and kill us, we are not going to give up these fundamental things which are the only way that there will ever be peace on earth. And may I please add this, which I firmly believe, if there is any reason on earth, we who believe we are created beings, if there's any reason on earth why we were created in the first place, then let that reason be to ultimately have peace on this planet, everywhere, every last individual to enjoy peace and fellowship and comradeship with their neighbors and neighbors individually and neighbors. That's horrible what you're telling me. But I don't doubt you, just that it's been predicted. We have to go back and look at the wisdom of people who have been deceased for many years. Men like Franklin and Woolman and Penn and Marcus Aurelius, he's been dead a very long time, George Washington, John Adams, and these people, they had this vision of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people that would be succursal, I like that word, succursal to a set of rules that would never, ever change. And now we have change. I apologize. I yield back to you, Hartmut. Tell me more.
In my opinion, it's a difficult situation. For example, I compare it with the military dictatorship from Greece from 1967 to 1973. And the interesting thing was that in this time, the newspapers, the media, they were part of the population. They were faster in bringing the information on the street to Europe than the dictatorship couldn't control it. And for this reason, as Greece was part of the European Union, the dictatorship couldn't be accepted by the European Union anymore as a part. And so the dictatorship had to find an end, because the media were so powerful. It was the independent force in the country which could open the eyes of the people, and so that there was, let's say, a revolution, also more or less in whole Europe concerning this dictatorship. And today in the United States, there are only 5 companies who own the complete media. And now the media is part of the establishment. And the construction of the establishment, this is explained by the podcaster Amazing Polly from Canada. She explained it brilliantly. We have this pyramid structure. And the higher the pyramid structure is, the more narcissistic is the pyramid structure. For example, you talk like an empath. So you want to talk like people of peace and of relationships, and let's say you go in connection with other people. Narcissists doesn't do this. They only have themselves and the fear to be destroyed. And the narcissist structure, we can see it all over the world, shows its face in the government. And this is a very tough war. In my opinion, it's the biggest battle we have ever had on this planet so far, I know.
Well, I haven't thought to add on that. Well, maybe give you another angle of seeing it. There was a fellow that you could read about, whether it's true or false. It's in the Bible. If you want to believe it's true because it's in the Bible, that's fine. It's an interesting story, whether it's true or false. But this fellow named John, he was one of the disciples. He was the one who leaned on Jesus' breast at the Last Supper. He was the only one of the men who showed up at Calvary, and he determined he was going to be there, drunken soldiers or with swords and spears or not, he was there. And then later, he went around the country and visited various people who were gathered together. They called themselves churches. Wish we had more churches today like those. But they were people who gathered together, and there was this one group that was led by a man named Diotrephes. You can read this for yourself. It's John's 3rd letter in the King James, or probably the same. And there's so many new Bibles, whatever, doesn't matter. So John wanted to speak to these people that hung out with Diotrephes. And a direct quote, I believe, is, "But Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence." There's that thing that you are sensitive to, this idea of narcissism that just infects people. They have to be the top dog. They have to be the greatest of all time, and they want to gobble up the space. Well, look at Caiaphas, who was the high priest of Israel, who plotted to murder Jesus. That's in the Bible. If the Bible's true, then that's what he did. He was the high priest of Israel, and he and his cronies plotted to murder this innocent carpenter. Well, same spirit, the spirit of Diotrephes, what you were calling that narcissistic spirit that wants to be top dog, that wants to lead the band. And I don't see that it's all that difficult for the rest of us who see these things that you see, that are beginning to rear their ugly head, their unacceptable head, this head that has to be put back where it belongs. I don't see that it's impossible for us to do this. And there have to be many mechanisms for that. As I said earlier, art, writing, poetry, songs, drama. We have all these opportunities. I mean, people say, well, someday they'll take the internet away from us. Well, they haven't taken it away yet. We still have it. Let's use it while we can, and teach people the things that you and Roy and Grace are sensitive to, because I believe it all has to do with education, and to let people, there you go. See, but that has to be up to you. I can't do it. You can do it. Together we can teach other people to do it, and those people can teach other people to do it. And it could happen very quickly. It could really happen. 2023, by the end of this year, we actually could be cleaning up the mess that we've allowed to exist. Doesn't have to exist. We cannot allow the burden of proof to be shifted backwards. It's not good for the people. And if it's not good for the people, then it isn't right. And if it isn't right, we have to stand against it. And I know you're doing that. And if it comes down to it, we file a lawsuit. We get a record. We get these people to come and answer questions under oath in front of the rest of the world, and then hold up that record for everyone to see. You know, this is what this man actually said under oath. We can do that. You have the tools and weapons, but I don't think it stops at the courthouse. I think it has to continue in the street, in the taverns, and the bars, and the restaurants, and the beauty salons, and the barbershops. And they can't stop us there.
No, they can't. I agree 100% with you. What I want to emphasize is the deep subconscious programming of the masses. So it's not that we can, for example, there was Yuri Bezmenov, an ex-KGB agent who came in the 70s to the USA, and he gave seminars in the 80s concerning demoralization, destabilization, crisis, normalization. And the destabilization or demoralization, this is infiltrated in our school system and at the universities. And the fact or the result of this is that the people who were demoralized have not the power, not the ability to see the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And many people, especially highly educated people, have this kind of perspective. And this is, and to get the people in a way that the people will listen to you, this is from my side also a kind of art, because, for example, here in the media in Germany, if someone has a specific opinion, they say directly they should be slammed, they should be hit.
Oh,
This they say in the media. So the people are programmed without seeing it. But at the end, I agree with you 100%. I believe that this kind of war, in my I see it as a war between narcissist and empath. I see that this situation in which we are right now is something like birth pangs. And
like
at
what?
the end, birth pangs.
Oh,
For
yes,
example, if you get a birth
yes.
children, yeah. In that moment, I think that there will be a new society which will based on empathy, so on high values and high attributes.
Pray God, make it happen. But it has to happen with us, in us, among us, by
Yeah,
us.
that's the reason why we are here. That's I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Well, anything I can do, I just one man. I just, I want peace on earth. I believe in it. I believe that my friend that allowed them to nail his hands and feet to a piece of wood, that he had a message. It wasn't just about, look at me, you get to go to heaven. That I don't believe that's all the message. I believe he said this is what injustice is. Work for justice, work for peace. Love each other, be friends with each other, be kind, be gentle. But
Yeah.
wisdom tells us, I think wisdom tells us, wisdom from above is pure, peaceable, gentle, full of mercy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. James 3:17 and 18. That 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 wisdom wants peace. Wisdom could be another name for God. Wisdom wants peace. Wisdom wants us to be generous and receive the fruits of our generosity. I mean, you can't be generous without having something come back your way. You just can't. You can't give away. You get more in return. These things are not being taught. Maybe the churches, if the churches could take a different slant on their approach to promoting the gospel and realize that maybe there's more to the gospel than what they're promoting. Maybe it's something that we need to have in the here and now, and to understand again that there is order where peace lives, and when order is taken away, or when order is tipped on its side or turned upside down, like you're suggesting, which is pretty serious, something that has to be dealt with, has to be dealt with, has to be dealt with. That has to be changed. But when they try to take the order and turn it into disorder, the children suffer. You and I, the three of us will get by. I believe that. I mean, you people, you're not being led by the nose by anybody, but
Hello? He is frozen. He is frozen at the moment. You can't hear him.
I
But
hope
I
it
guess
comes.
I can. Oh,
Ah, he's back.
Okay.
Dr. Graves, we couldn't
Yes.
hear you for 30 seconds. Can you
Well, it's
repeat the last 30 seconds?
just the enemy of our souls trying to make trouble. That's how it
It is
works.
a war about our soul, sir.
The what?
It's a war about our souls.
It is a war. But I want to tell you, it's a word war. The
Yeah.
words are eternal. They don't change. The word justice and what it means and what it is, it's never going to change. They can take it away. They can burn our brains out. They can take us in the street and shoot us. It's not going to change what justice is. It's not going to change what prudence is. It's not going to change what fortitude is. Those things never change. But we're not teaching our children, and we could do that. And maybe I think that's part of our thing that we need to be doing, not just winning in court, maybe winning in court to demand that those things be taught. Use the courts to make those demands, but otherwise to do it ourselves, to get those words together, to find out what is important and promote it. I'm just going off now.
Yeah.
I'll just take a break.
What I want to mention at last is, for example, the subconscious programming, for example, of Sylvester. Yeah, now we had Sylvester, a new year. The funny thing is, it's in the wintertime. The new year should start in spring, not in the wintertime. But how does it come that we have Sylvester on the 31st of December? Because of the name Sylvester. The Roman Emperor Constantine put the first pope with the name Sylvester in position and gave him the power over the military.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pope Sylvester wanted to celebrate his name. And this is the reason why we celebrate Sylvester as slaves to honor our boss Sylvester. It has nothing to do with the new year at all. And this is all subconscious programming, and the people, let's say on the top, they are very good in subconscious programming, and it takes courage to see the truth and to encourage the people that they see the truth. This is, I think, a lot of work.
And to promote the truth.
And to promote the truth.
To see it is one thing. To promote it is another.
Is another.
And to encourage others to promote it, and encourage others to encourage others to encourage others. We have this ability still. It can be done. It must be done. We must attempt it. Roy, you're awfully quiet.
Yep. No, thank you. I pass you to Grace. It was a real pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, sir. Pleasure to meet all of you.
And Dr. Graves, yeah, I myself, I love words, especially words that I don't know. And then I find the meaning of the words, because for me, that's connected to our DNA as well. Every letter has certain power and certain message. And we all know that already. In science, they admit that as like 5 letters. So yeah, they will try to, change all the words, but it's only what they want to change for us. So let us reclaim all the power that we can do, because if, as you were saying, if it's something that is leading us to this empowerment, this belief of who we are truly here for, then they win, we lose. But no, there's no time for losing. And um Dr. Graves, we love our children truly, and they're the ones who are vulnerable. Are you in touch with or the homeschooling organizations? Are they reaching out to you? And what can we further do so that they can really incorporate, or maybe are you going to make some kids stuff in your website or courses?
Well, being about to become 80 years old in April.
Congratulations.
My brain is still working, but the rest of me is getting tired. And so I've been hoping and praying that this year will be the year when we will have a team that this will all be taken over. It'll be done better. And we will start teaching in the earlier grades some of these concepts that we call common law, these truths that are always true, these doctrines of justice that determine who wins and who loses and why. And I believe that can be taught. I have been speaking with some people who keep saying, well, we have money, we can do this, we have money, you have money. And then after I talk to them for a little bit of time, it turns out that they want to just turn everything around and make it about making money. And well, that I won't put up with that. I pray, and you can pray, that somebody will come along one of these days and say that they see this need, and that they will commit to the need, that they will throw money at it, because it will take money to hire people to create the curriculum materials that has to be done. I can't do it. There just isn't enough hours in the day. But someone that will come along and see that we can do this and that it will sustain itself financially. There will be profits, and the profits will go back in, and it will grow and be something that will last for maybe years and maybe even generations. I mean, McGraw-Hill's been around since 1887, I believe, creating curriculum materials, but nobody's ever come up with the idea of creating justice curriculum materials for our schools that are e-curriculums, that are interactive, that are e-based, that have active cartoons and all kinds of wonderful things to entertain and educate and empower the children. I just keep praying that we'll do that and get it into the schools, because at the very beginning of this expedition into the future, we're going to be teaching the fundamentals to the children. They will learn the meaning of words. And those words will be honorable and kind and uplifting and powerful and sure and fixed and unchangeable. And maybe a generation of children will populate this world and bring about world peace. I believe it's possible. People say, oh, it never happened. Well, I don't even want to talk. Go away from me. I don't want to hear from you. Go away. Leave me alone. I don't believe you. I believe it is possible. And I believe my friend the carpenter died on that cross to show us where we begin.
We will do our best to do our part.
We stand against that spirit of Diotrephes. We stand against it, and we can. It's not impossible. It's just a matter of making up our minds, making a decision. Let there be a decision. Let this year be the year of decision.
Excellence. This is beautiful. Yep. Let it be a beginning, the time where we could really make up our mind where we want to be in this history. And then if there's a lot of manipulation through different media, we can counteract that by doing our part. As you said in many other podcasts, we have many devices, the internet, as I make the most of that, because the source gave that to us as well. So not only that. Thank you. And let's see, how else can we support that project? And we'll keep you healthy. All right. There are many for me, heroes who are really past 80 and they're doing their best. They're still kicking. So we'll make sure you reach that point beyond. Anything more that you want to truly say again, or last message? And I will continue to post this your link, okay, and the other courses.
No, thank you. Thank all of you, and God bless us, everyone, as Tiny Tim said. We can't fail.
Take care, and just like in the other episodes, please share, subscribe. Check the links that we post here and also on the post notes, and keep on multiplying. We may be just little quantum episode, but we'll have a quantum leap. Happy New Year. Take the stress out of your life by empowering yourself through education. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. It was a